All right, let's talk a little bit about making templates. Okay, so we're working on the Shaw bag from Sally Tomato. Sally Tomato, lovely. And we're gonna do the largest bag. This is our first kind of shop sample out of the Fern Textiles. Just a reminder, Fern Textiles, we're using this on the outside, we're using this on the inside. Super excited. We've got all of our sundries here, our zipper and all of our hardware and stuff, all the fantastic Sally Tomato hardware. And the patterns really are wonderful in Sally Tomato. If you've never made a bag before, it's a fantastic program to work with, and they make the hardware really easy to work with as well. But what holds up a lot of people from a variety of things, especially, if you've never done any apparel work before, when you open up a pattern, sometimes you're going to see a page like this, and this is a template page. Because this particular pattern comes with 3 sizes, you have the same piece. So like this is the small, this is the medium. The same piece will be on this page multiple times. And because Sally Tomato is so awesome, they tell you exactly how many of these to cut. So here's the thing with these. I could cut these up, but they're two-sided, see? I could also photocopy these. You can photocopy these for personal use only, and then cut them out. And they provide some measurement things on the pages to make sure. Here's the test square to make sure that you're doing 1 by 1. Sally Tomato also makes these fantastic labels that you can cut out and then you can pin to all of your fabric and all of your pieces, so you can keep yourself super organized when you sew. But here's the thing. Obviously, when you, there's going to be a variety of reasons why you don't want to cut up the pattern itself. 1, you purchase the pattern. You might want to use it more than once. 2, the pieces are usually double-sided, so if you want to make the small this time and the large next time, you're going to need multiple sides in order to do that. And then the last is, sometimes we just don't want to cut up our patterns. So there's a couple different ways to do this. We can make permanent template pieces using template plastic. This like vinyl, sheet vinyl comes here. This is some template plastic with a grid on it. It's just thin vinyl, and you put it down and you trace around, and then you can cut it with not your fabric scissors and make just a standard template piece out of it. You can also make single-use templates out of paper. And the reason I say they're single-use templates is because the minute you start using a template that you've made out of paper, like this, you're going to start cutting on the lines, things are going to get a little wonky, and maybe it doesn't, you're going to start fold it. Maybe it starts to get worn. Those of you who've done apparel before know that paper isn't always, the best way to hold a pattern long term. But it can work. Template plastic is something that if you're making a quilt out of something and you need to use the template 60 or 80 times in that quilt, the plastic is just much more durable and easier to use. So not going to show you all of the instructions obviously on camera, but what I did want to talk about is how we transfer and make a simple template. So first we're going to look and find, again, we're making the large size. So we have to figure out what pieces we need to make template pieces for. And in this case, we needed to make a template piece for what's called the flap. And it comes in small, medium, and large. We're making the large. So all I did was take a piece of plain old printer paper and put it over the top of this piece of paper, hold them together, and trace it. That's all I did. Now, obviously, you can see that, there's some spaces where I messed up a little bit and I just redrew a line. You can see that this line I made too long. That's because I used my ruler to make that line so I would get it nice and straight. You can also see that I remembered to mark any special instructions that are on the template. And that's because you might make this template, put the project away, come back in, a month, and forget what I'm supposed to do with this piece. So I marked where my fold goes right here, which is already marked on here. See? So that's all that this is. So when you run across a quilt pattern that maybe is an older pattern, so, before rotary cutters, believe me, there was a time of quilting before rotary cutters, everything was template cut. And in you know, American piecing. English paper piecing is a little bit different, but everything template cut. And so when you run across these old patterns, you'll often find templates in like pattern books for squares or for diamonds or for rectangles. And this was because people would cut the template, then they would put the template on there. They would cut out the template, right? I'm going to cut this out next using fabric, or not fabric shears, but just regular old scissors. And then after they were cut, people would then put these on their fabric, mark their fabric, and cut their fabric. And they would cut everything that way. You'd cut squares that way, you'd cut triangles that way, you'd cut circles that way, and every piece that you made would be cut that way. So again, this is not, this is maybe a history lesson for, or a reminder for those who started quilting before rotary cutters were popular and invented, but believe me, they haven't been around forever. Even though it feels like they must have. Like, how do you quilt without a rotary cutter? Well, it's templates. That's how you do it. And now a lot of quilters are a little scared of templates because, you know, we're so used to our rotary cutters that we don't use these very much. But this is actually a really great way to, especially with bags, but also with applique or with any sort of fabric that you might want to fussy cut. So like if I have a fabric like this, right, and I want to cut out just one of the heads in the square, I can use a template plastic to see where I'm cutting when I look through it. So there's all kinds of different reasons to use templates, and there's no reason to fear them. When you see a pattern with a template, simply trace that template onto paper or template plastic, cut it out, and then it's yours for good. I'm going to label these. I'm going to get started. This is my side panel, which is the other one. This was a 2-page template that I had to mark and do some math on to make sure I got the 2 pages together. So I taped 2 pieces of paper together, and again, that's the end. It's super simple. Templates are nothing to avoid, and it's definitely something that'll it's a skill that'll kind of take you to the next round. If it's not something you're familiar with, I encourage you to try so that it's not something you're scared of in the future, because we want to make sure that any pattern that you fall in love with, you can achieve. So all of these kind of little tutorials that we're doing, we just run across people who are like, oh, well, I don't know how to make templates, or I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do that. And really it's so straightforward. It's not a reason to let it stop you from making something that you really love. So good luck with your templates, enjoy, and we'll see you at the shop.